across the rift right now. They've got a 600 gold lead with no kills. Now IgNar is going to get rooted up by the Gravitum. Crash down from Weiwei. First blood, and it goes over to Chris. But now they're trapped between a rock and a hard place. FBI falls. There's nothing left. NRG are crushed. It's 5 kills over to Weibo.
Yeah, hit front. Rel's getting really close, guys. Rel first. We can even take her out.
Yeah, fine.
Rel, yeah.
Dhokla can't do it. He goes all out, but he's only going to buy a moment. Light is legendary, and Weiwei leads the charge. But the Aphelios will take Nexus number 2, and Weibo hits match point.
Light is legendary so far, and Weibo Gaming find themselves 1 game away from the semi-finals at Worlds. NRG are with their backs against the wall, and maybe that's the place they want to be, because now they are truly in the underdog position. You can't get any more underdog than this.
That's true.
A lot of people
got them right where we want them.
Yeah.
A lot of people came into this with high expectations. Now we're back to low expectations, which is exactly where we want to be.
And I have some cope. Game number 1, they actually played it out, I think, quite well. I do think that was a very, very competitive game. Game number 2, I think they changed up the draft, and I think they set themselves up well for success. But the level 1 just went so bad that I almost felt like it was pretty doomed from there. Yes, they could have maybe battled back, but this one was tough.
And you know when you're up against a range support bottom that you want to be able to protect your bot side jungle. So it looked like they were actually trying to play around top side. They expend 2 wards to try and get early vision onto Weiwei. They get no vision. He rushes down the Raptors. He beats Contractz to red buff. He pushes them off. It's an absolute disaster when you're going to expend 2 wards and then also get pushed off your red. And honestly, this, even though it would have been, like, was GG, could have been an even harder GG, because these dives, I think a lot of the time, do work.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is the execution on these dives was not perfect, right? And that kind of kept NRG in a little bit. But here's what we see from Weibo, what we've been seeing from them all tournament with, like, okay, Weiwei, he chases Contractz out of his own jungle. Contractz is super set far behind. He visits bot. Guess where he's going next? Again, he's going into the bot lane, and you see his bot proc stats there. They've just been massive, and the whole idea is getting Light and Crisp ahead.
And I think big credit also to FBI and IgNar, who were able to dodge both the Shattering Strikes on those initial plays, but try again, they come back. This time Contractz was trying to be there to actually counter gank, but there was a deep lane ward, if you actually look on the minimap, and that spotted Contractz walking down, so they knew they had the time to make the play happen before Contractz arrived. And I think it's just been all about this bot lane play. And even though IgNar and FBI handled it well, I think they wanted to be playing this from ahead, not behind. They wanted to be playing and be able to be on the front foot and be really aggressive, but they just couldn't when they got that far down.
No, and then they decided we're going to dive now, and the timing was so important. Every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, Weibo Gaming turned the bot lane dive thanks to their solo lane TPs and secure a huge team fight win, which was where we were getting a little bit sad for NRG.
And I know we've changed the camera angle, but where was this fight? Oh, that's right, it was in the bot lane.
Yeah.
So they tried the dive once again. Yes, they did kill Light in this one, but it's like a clown car of TPs. They just keep popping out new people, and TheShy was the final one.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the big thing was NRG were the ones that started this dive, right? They were trying to get the wave in. They didn't necessarily have the timing they want on that. They still ended up going for it, and they would have pulled it off if they haven't been for the Weibo TPs.
Wasn't for those pesky
TPs.
TPs.
Teleport.
And also, to credit to TheShy, he actually laned really well in the 1v1 early, which forced Dhokla to TP back top. So that's why he couldn't actually match the play. He had TP back to lane top, so they knew they had the added man. They had that deep lane ward because they had the pressure from those Weiwei ganks down towards bot. So it's all of these things that are kind of just interconnected. And I think that is why I have a little bit of that copium of, hey, if you can protect your level 1, if you think things can go better, because they didn't just roll over and die. And that's something that I have a lot of respect for NRG in this game, is that they kept swinging. They went for Barons. They looked for plays. They always kept fighting for it instead of just sitting back and allowing Weibo to just run them over.
Yeah, now we got to have kind of, what do you take from these first 2 games to get into that 3rd game? You have to get a win.
I mean, I think we take the importance of support counterpick and the importance of enchanters, right? Enchanters have been just absolutely dominating when they have been coming out. I've been such a Renata fan all year long. Weibo used Renata a lot against Fnatic. Now they're using Melio here, and that added protection is making it so even with the dive, it's so hard to take out Light. He went shield bow, plus they have Breath of Life, plus they have double shield. It's so tough to actually get through that.
And looking at the draft, you can see there's a lot of crucial things that stayed exactly the same. This Rel pick here, followed by the Melio flex, is killing NRG. So I do wonder what they're going to change up. I cannot imagine they're going to keep all 3 of their bans and their first pick the same in a 3-game sweep. They've been too flexible of a team throughout the year to do that.
They have NRG with their backs against the wall, and Emily Weibo in a position where not a lot of people who have watched the LPL this year would have put them 1 game away from the semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing here is I really want to highlight Light and Crisp, right? Because I did talk about how this team was supposed to be a super team. The names on this roster were supposed to do much better than they are. A lot of people did not expect this team to be here. They thought it was going to be top esports. They thought it was going to be maybe EDG, even though they were struggling a bit. And I think the 2 call-outs I want to have are Light and then also Crisp. Like, obviously, they've been prioritizing his R5 counterpick of Melio and flexing the Rel, but he is now 5-0 on this champion. He ended that game 2-0-17. He's been absolutely instrumental, and obviously we know him as a world champion, but he's had a really rough year. So to see them come out and have this kind of performance is really great.
And it's another LPL AD carry that just seems to be crushing people. They've had so many over the years. This back-to-back games with over 1,000 DPM on the Aphelios from Light. You know, I wonder, would NRG even elect to just try to prioritize the Aphelios early themselves, look for a bit of a takeaway, and try to play that style? My only concern is that IgNar is not really an enchanter guy, so I don't know that they really can play lane dominant.
My concern is that NRG, I feel like, is actually playing okay. It's just right now, Weibo is playing better. So what are they going to switch up in this final draft? It's the time to do it now.
We've seen it already in Eco Ban. What else are we going to see? Let's head over to Captain. Hopefully he can give NRG some hope.
Thank you very much, Shocks. Chat, you might be getting a little ahead of yourself here. Not necessarily the final draft, potentially the final draft, because Weibo has been looking ferocious in this series so far.
Well, hopefully that comes in the form of some reaction with this Aphelios ban. NRG have decided to mix things up here. Light has been that guy. He has been the AD carry that just pumps out damage. He has delivered back to his team for investing resources. And then one of the bans that we did drop in order to ban the Aphelios is something that NRG got the first pick here, the Rumble for Dhokla, priority for top lane.
This does open up Weibo to go for what's been a big strength for them, which is the Maokai and an AD mid laner. It has been the Tristana all summer long for Xiaohu, but I think you can just go towards something like the Jayce here and still have a good time, but it's not going to be the case.
Yeah, the Caitlyn immediately locked in for Light this time with the Aphelios banned away. Also worth noting, the mid laners that have been played in both the previous games are both banned out by Weibo this time. No Orianna, no Nico.
Weibo were more than ready with AD carry number 2. Ready to step up here. You assume it's going to be a Lux. Now, will NRG slam a Blitzcrank into it, expecting it, and try and crack it, or will they try and gank somewhere else? All right, Karma.
Okay.
Karma isn't like in the strongest individual place, but it is a very good pick into the Caitlyn Lux lane.
Yeah, specifically into that. I wasn't sure if they were going to go for something like the Ashe and just try and have that push as an answer, but I actually was, when I saw the answer, I got a little bit nervous, but I think this is actually a decent spot as long as K'Sante doesn't get locked in here. Because if you end up with a K'Sante, it's going to be incredibly hard for you to actually try and get through a tanky front line that TheShy provides. So as long as you can get rid of those picks coming through here, I think you're in an okay spot.
All right, FBI is a legacy Ezreal player. So this bottom lane counter, this is kind of a very old counter, the Ezreal Karma. It's not even the Lux, actually, that ends up getting locked in. In answer to the Karma here, they pivot to the Heimdinger. Even after the nerfs to the turret health, it's still so good at pushing.
I think the thing is as well, it also provides a lot of AP damage on that bottom side. I think for Weibo, you're probably going to see a lot of this long range coming through with something like a Jayce potentially in the mid lane. You've already got the Maokai there. Then you can set up where you as NRG have to play into Weibo, and you've already got, well, a Heimdinger there. You're playing into Maokai, Caitlyn traps, Jayce poke. It becomes really difficult to operate. So I think, again, NRG ban away the K'Sante, and then maybe even just chuck out a Jayce ban to try and get rid of some of that long range that I think Weibo are going to set up.
All right, Jarvan, K'Sante, both banned out. Heimdinger, Caitlyn, Maokai versus Rumble, Ezreal, Karma. Do they want to continue targeting junglers here on the side of Weibo, having already got that Maokai? Like you pointed out earlier, Dagda, this is something that was banned in the first 2 games. Having it now in this third one that could be the final game of the series is huge. So if they can knock Contractz further down that tier list, could be a big difference maker. There it is, the Poppy banned away.
Yeah, they're looking at Contractz there. Possible good combinations with the Rumble. NRG definitely need to get some sort of structure, some setup for their team fight, but now we still are looking at what TheShy is going to be able to play into Rumble. NRG afforded another protection ban here if they want to invest it into him. You know, Aatrox is playable into Rumble, but you have to switch over to Conqueror and do the more like range pokey style.
Yeah, I think you could even go for something like the Kennen if you really wanted to. Just have yourself, again, a bit more AP topside. I think you take the Jayce here if you're going to be Weibo. And then you're in a spot where you've got two big, heavy AD damage dealers. You've got great opportunity if Weibo NRG try to play into you. But it looks like it's not. It's going to be a case of going towards the Gnar instead. So still having a little bit of hope coming through, but definitely another champion that thrives when you have to try and run at it.
I want to see what Contractz goes here for, because they kind of need an AD jungle threat. Viego is a possibility, but they also want more structure for their team fight, you know, more AoE.
I think Wukong is a really strong pick here. You get the team fight setup that you want for the likes of this Rumble, you get the AD jungle that you really want, and also then the Speedo to pair alongside it would be sick. Okay!
Palafox Yone comes out again. NRG were notorious for being a flex Yone team. Both Dhokla and Palafox love this champion. They 1v1 on it a lot, and we're going to get the team fight attack damage, technically, Sejuani, in pair with the double melee solo laners here for NRG. I love this comp. They've got the answer for the bottom side push. They've got the attack triangle of their top side of the map.
But this is what we're talking about, right? You just go for long range for Weibo. So now you have to make sure that you're pulling off these engages well, but also early for NRG. Caitlyn being able to set up traps, Jayce being able to poke you out. The opportunity to even just like take space and control that is so strong for Weibo. So for NRG, it's about getting early control, getting towards the objectives first, and not allowing Weibo that opportunity.
And I want to see if Contractz on this Sejuani can make an early move to Palafox. Contractz and Palafox, the duo, has been at the forefront of this team so often. And when you have Sejuani plus Yone and you jump on the Jayce, your Yone E's, your Sejuani gets in there, you hold the Q, and you use that stun priority. If they can take control of mid lane, then maybe they can make that leak into the other lanes.
The dream team fight setup for NRG is Yone being able to ult everybody together, throw Rumble ult over the top of it, True Shot Barrage over the top of it. If they can wombo this combo, they've got a shot. But like you already said, Dagda, between Caitlyn traps and Heimdinger turrets, Maokai saplings, there are so many obnoxious little traps that the side of Weibo can set up to utilize their zone control and their range, that if NRG messes up even a little bit, one wrong step, all of a sudden everybody's at half HP, the fight's over before it starts.
And I think we're going to see a split in priorities here on both sides because of that, right? I think when you're NRG, it's like, hey, can I play around my top side? Triple threat when it comes towards proccing the Sejuani stun because we're all melee, fantastic, thumbs up. Look towards bot side, you want to try and play for this Caitlyn Heimdinger, get that push. Karma is somewhat good at being ult to deny some of that with that ult Q combo, but you need to be able to let them get that vision, allow them to get to the turrets, and Weibo have been so good at playing around bot, they have to see if they can do it one more time here against NRG.
Double death ball, 5-man play, going bot side for both teams. It is do or die for NRG. Win here or go home. Weibo dominating in game number 2 after a close game number 1. Oh man.
Light was able to poke off Contractz passive there with a single shot.
Xiaohu, nope, not quite gonna find a shot.
This is pretty common to try and kill Heimdinger turrets and make sure that Heimdinger lanes can't set up with the extra free privilege of that wave push. So that's why when Heimdinger is picked on either team, you usually see full 5-on-5s to the bottom half.
And a huge amount of it is trying to get that deep turret in that bottom brush, so then are the furthest brush from you, so you can actually start to threaten on towards the wave, make sure you get that push. So NRG, it may not have looked like a win, but it is a win.
Yeah.
A reminder, connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming to grab that exclusive Braum W emote that you see all the players flashing every time something goes wrong or right.
I love the pivot too.
Yep, they're just ready to go. All right, so everything's spawning up. Relief for the NA fans in the audience, Contractz does not have Weiwei in his jungle at level 1 this time.
He's starting eyes on Raptors, not letting those ones go away for free. All right, meanwhile, it is going to be a topside start there for Weibo as well. So Weiwei, again, surprise, surprise, will be pathing towards the bottom lane when you have these double shoving lanes. We'll see if Contractz is going to make some sort of early visit. Sejuani currently could have an option here through Krugs, but if you do, then you sacrifice your top quadrant.
I mean, this is definitely Contractz playing for the bot side. He's like, look, Weiwei is every single game so far in this series gone for a 3-camp into bot side pressure, and you can already see Contractz like, well, I'm just going to immediately do the same. Play off this bottom side, make sure that FBI and IgNar can get control of this early wave state, but it will set him behind on its clear speed.
With the counter of the Ezreal Karma and the skill shot poke here, you can also try and go for an invade on the Maokai. They did get an energy deep ward onto blue buff, so when you have control with bottom lane like this, you know, IgNar is going to be able to help out on priority.
Yeah, they go in hard after Crisp at level 1. They're not quite going to find him here, but Light and Crisp both taking a ton of damage as FBI and IgNar apply the pressure nice and early, and now it's Contractz invading Weiwei this time around.
And the bottom lane will leak over here. Karma already coming, IgNar heading up.
Crisp also rotating. He's only got 300 HP here on the Heimdinger. Weiwei throws the sapling over the wall, goes in after IgNar. The follow-up comes out from the grenade. A lot of damage on IgNar, who has to flash away. Weiwei's ready for the follow. First blood over to Crisp. They even secure the blue. They might even find enough damage back into Contractz. Now who has to flash away. Weiwei survives. Crisp coming up and making the plays.
There was no FBI. He never came across the play, wasn't able to get into position, was spotting Light that whole time, and it means that NRG can't win out on the play.
I feel like that's a bit of hubris from IgNar, walking into the brush, right into the face of Maokai. Weiwei can just W, roots you up for Chris to be able to land this. And Chris does a good job. He's hovering outside Fog of War right there, by the way. Really good job because Weibo knew the placement of the energy ward. So Crisp, he hides behind that ledge just in the Fog of War, and then when IgNar walks up and gets rooted by Weiwei, Crisp lets him have it.
And I think they thought that Crisp had backed. I think IgNar was like, this is a 2v1, I'm going to make sure that there's no opportunity for any sort of smite pressure to come through, and ends up coming back to bite them. They just don't respect that Crisp is still there.
Yeah, I mean, the little bits of information and knowing that your opponent knows that your ward is there is so critical.
Big difference in the reaction cam when we see IgNar here compared to what we saw in game number 1 when he made a mistake and got caught. It was more of a, oh man, that was kind of goofy in game number 1. This one, you could see the frustration in the way it played out.
And still though, you're getting control here for NRG on this bottom side. That play may have gone a little bit rocky, but 31 to 22 in CS, turret plates going across. This is the exact opposite of how Light and Crisp want this game to go. And I think the big thing now for NRG is use this bot pressure to get dragons. If you're able to stop Weibo from having that tempo and having that control around the dragons, this game is going to become way, way easier for you.
Speaking of Weiwei, he's once again going after his favorite thing. Contractz is chicken camp. Jumping in now with a twisted advance. Xiaohu coming around to help him. Contractz! What was that? What was that?
His Q got dodged. That was like watching a matador, you know? The bull charges forward. He thought his Q was just going to bump into Weiwei there, but he goes right through him. Weiwei, pretty smooth moves on a big old tree, dodging him out right into the hands of Xiaohu, rotating over from the Jayce push on mid. And it is going from bad to worse. 2 kills now for Weibo. And Weibo on series point to make semi-finals at Worlds.
Yeah, I thought it was taking the Hobbits to Isengard, but basically this tree has been taking this Hobbit all around the map with him, and it's caused major issues. Now there's the Dragon gone as well. Contractz is only going to be looking at that, and all this pressure that NRG had done a good job of getting with the counter pick, controlling mid, is all starting to fall apart.
It was only a minute ago. You were talking about translating this pressure into a dragon and how important that was. Now only 5.5 minutes into the game. It's first Drake over to Weibo, and it's not just first Drake, it's Ocean Drake. This early in the laning phase, that's a massive advantage for Weibo all across the lanes.
All right, NRG, they need to stay calm, stay focused. Still have possibilities. Go back to the game plan here, even with the early bumpy road. And it looks like Contractz is down there towards the bottom side, trying to make them back off. Again, though, they're having to go through Weibo vision now that they've lost the early game with these 2 kills, one on IgNar, one on Contractz. Ward and Tribrush, ward up by Raptors as well. Any sort of movement down to this bottom side of the map is going to be sussed out and seen by Weibo.
It's also the fact that you're now going to start to struggle to keep control over this mid wave. It's been going relatively well for Palafox in the early stages, but now that you've got Serrated Dirt coming through from Xiaohu, you can very quickly clear out these waves, start to put a bit of pressure onto Palafox and make this lane just a little bit harder for him to keep full control on. So I think this is where you're going to see if Xiaohu and Weiwei can start to open up that pressure to alleviate some of the advantages bot side. No real opportunity for Weibo to try and pressure Riptide, I feel like, at the moment, with Dhokla having that advantage on top end, but you still need to keep an eye out for that if you're on NRG.
TheShy going in here with the Mega Gnar combo, jumping in for an aggressive trade against Dhokla. Dhokla has already used his teleport to return to the lane. TheShy has not. As long as he can just trade as aggro as possible before he goes back to base and then returns, he's going to have that HP advantage. He's going to have that edge in future trades.
Yeah, Shy has not even based yet, has not even popped his potion yet. Laning really, really well on the Gnar with the fleet footwork. Honestly, let's see about the transition, though, because Contractz did come over. They try to get some vision down through the Rift Herald here. It looks like they got one inside to the pit as well as the Scuttle Crab, so vision definitely secured.
Yeah, I think they're waiting for Contractz to hit level 6. You can see him moving back down towards his bottom side. Do your red buff, move in towards mid, maybe look for a play with Dhokla as he's leaning down, or at least have access to that ultimate as you try and make something happen, because at the moment, if you don't have it, it just becomes so much more difficult to find that engage versus Weibo when they're going to be able to use that range on the top end.
Caitlyn and Heimdinger having the edge here in the bottom lane now with that push. Still, slight farm advantage over to FBI because of the way that the early lane was going. Contractz now with a level 6. The Glacial Prison, a massive tool for being able to make these plays. Clears out that turret there in the bottom side river. Palafox also hovering down here towards this part of the mid lane just in case somebody would have came after Contractz. Light going after the poke here with the Piltover Peacemakers. They want to try to go for something here. Fate sealed into the Glacial Prison, but the timing isn't right. Xiaohu has the opportunity to flash away.
And that's huge now for Weibo, because Xiaohu will still be relevant when it comes to these fights. You don't have the ultimate for Contractz and Palafox to try and fight for Rift Herald, but it may not even be the call for Weibo. Look at Weiwei. He's like, I'm going straight for the bot lane dive.
And he's already summoning up the Twisted Advance. FBI's gonna get caught out here at the beginning, gets cleansed, trying to get away from it still, flashing to drag Weiwei with him, but it ain't gonna matter. FBI just gets shot to pieces. Light grabs the kill. 3-0 game for Weibo.
Weiwei's back in his home, bottom lane. Good force from him with the Maokai ultimate. They've got what they came for. They got the push. Weiwei wants a little bit more. Can he smite fight on this? Contractz doesn't have his smite anymore. And Weiwei gets rooted up.
Yep, Weiwei rooted up. The Ignite comes down as well. Contractz still going after him. Gets the Arctic Assault that time, flashing after him. Palafox wants in here. They go in to facilitate the E. Palafox grabbing the kill. NRG is on the board.
A kill just where they need it. Into the hope here for NRG. The Yone getting some money to try and fund this team fight. Palafox on the roam down bottom. He had used his ultimate previously on the gank onto Xiaohu to get Xiaohu's flash. Here he uses his flash. So now flashes and flash advantage kind of evened up there towards the mid lane. Next visit will be support roam timers here. You already see Crisp out and trying to get priority in the river for the Rift Herald.
Yeah, the reset from Dhokla though means you've no control over top side. Palafox also wasn't reset after that fight as well, so you're in a bit of an awkward situation here for NRG as you try and contest on towards the top side, but we're going to get a replay here. Weiwei immediately with the ult, and even though FBI cleanses, just barely getting pipped by this Twisted Advance, sets up then for Weibo.
Yeah, back to live. Palafox in a bad spot. He tries to use the Soul Unbound, but it's not going to get him away from this one. Xiaohu takes the kill. Weibo picking up their 4th kill of the game with control over the topside river. They immediately pick up the Herald as the prize.
And that was the early prep that we were just highlighting before we went into that replay. These wards here, Chris got there first on the reset from supports. He was able to the super deep ward that they saw all the entry paths. TheShy was able to push up, and so Weibo snowballing right now. Turret plates mid, Rift Herald immediately used, and they can transition over to Dragon as well.
Yeah, especially with Light getting that damage onto FBI on the bot side. IgNar trying to see if he can wrap around. He's beat Crisp to the punch, but can he get on towards Light to get a kill?
Ooh, Light trying to play super aggressively. Now he tries to get away as IgNar's going in. A little bit more damage. True shot, barrage strikes true, and Light falls down. Xiaohu wanted to join in with a teleport just in case, but they couldn't save their AD carry in time.
They don't have FBI for this fight though on NRG side, so Weibo still in a position where they can try and contest. Not sure though, as they want to try and give this space over towards NRG. Palafox having push in mid, going to make things a bit easier for them to start to move over towards the bottom side.
Oh, IgNar, blinking, you'll miss it. Xiaohu sets the trap, and IgNar walks right in. Weibo grabbed their 5th kill of the game as a TP summoned up for energy, and they want to try to get something back. Palafox arrives, but it's all too little and all too late.
That means there's going to be a huge power deficit now. We've got Caitlyn Light here going to be able to push out mid. Xiaohu with the heroics there. The burst from Jayce, so much damage. Immediately deletes IgNar and means that Weibo get to push mid with that Caitlyn and take the dragon at their leisure.
Man, oh man, another Drake going the way of Weibo, another plate going the way of Light. Everything is coming up Weibo here in game number 3. They're up 2,000 gold, 2 Drakes to nothing 12 minutes in.
But the problem is, it's actually coming off of NRG's over-enthusiasm to try and make these plays happen. Like, Weibo are looking for the play, we're looking for the play on bot side. It's IgNar who roams into the face of Xiaohu and gives that kill across. Then Contractz whiffing on the ultimate means that Weibo are able to go for Dragon. It's NRG that are just pushing the envelope too far, and Weibo are punishing.
Dagda, if you don't love NRG at their 2-0 over G2, then you don't deserve them here, because this is how they always look for the aggressive play. They're always looking to preempt it and be the ones to start it out. This time around, they're getting punished at each face check. Level 2, was it? The first one from IgNar on the invade in jungle. And here again, their idea there was catch Xiaohu, IgNar try and shield himself and keep him in, and off of that kill, they wanted to chain it into a dragon and start to claw their way back in. And they're a team that always wants to make their own win cons, make their own comebacks into these games, and sometimes they get punished for it.
Xiaohu and Weiwei looking for a potential dive here on Palafox, not going to find it. Decide that discretion's the better part of valor on this one. Contractz going to face check into the brush there that Crisp was waiting in. Now Palafox in trouble. Twisted Advance comes out. Nice buffer through the CC from Palafox, but it cost him his ult to get away.
It'll cost them bot lane tower as well. The amount of control that Weibo have on this bottom side is absolutely insane, and Xiaohu already taking plates. Light has pushing mid, so he's leaning down. I don't know if NRG can stick around that long.
Well, Palafox is going to step forward with a soul unbound. They can at least clear the wave away. Remember, it's only the first herald. It does about a plate and a half worth of damage. So Weibo could summon it up, take the guaranteed 2 plates that are left here, but the clock has now moved past that point. So this turret is done for, you would have to think. A little bit more damage coming out there. The Jayce extra attack speed allowing him to put the DPS into it. True shot barrage over the top, going after the minions. Ain't going to get it done. First turret of the game goes to Weibo.
And you can look at the map. Look at where TheShy is. Weibo knows that they've been given a lot of extra advantages in this game. So they're like, look, as long as we don't give anything back, we can play through those wins that we have, play through the strength of Xiaohu, and not give the opportunity for NRG to strike back. Dhokla with TheShy hovering around here. He should be all right, though.
Yeah, this is definitely one of Xiaohu's best games so far at Worlds. Definitely been a member of the team people have been looking for more from, with such a high bar set. And his Jayce is going to be a huge part of now the siege from Weibo. Trying to move him around to some of these towers as
oh no,
Crisp is gonna roam in.
That was a big wallop there to catch Dhokla on the very edge. Now Crisp shows up with a bouncing grenade. But Weibo don't want to overcommit onto this. They don't want to try to force something. Contractz and IgNar both making their way up here. It's a 4-man play from NRG, but a teleport coming back in from Weibo to answer.
TheShy coming back in, but I think they're just going to back away from this one. You can already see where Xiaohu is positioned on this bottom side. He's going to push in, so NRG going to be forced to back away. And I agree with what Kobe said for Xiaohu. This is a player that has been so downtrodden coming into this World Championship. A lot of people, both on the Western side and also in the Chinese community, have been like, look, Xiaohu doesn't make it past October when it comes to the World Championship. So often, he's the guy that has been questioned when it comes in. But when you look at that lane economy snapshot by MasterCard, you can see how big an advantage Xiaohu has gained for his team here, and he wants to try and continue it forward.
All right, Weiwei is the target this time, but again, NRG cannot get the CC chain they need to guarantee these kills. Even when they find that first part of it, the rest isn't there. Palafox versus TheShy up in the top part of the map. Soul Unbound. Oh no! A rock to the face! Learn your place! TheShy absolutely decimates him there in the 1v1. That wasn't even close. Dhokla now losing to Xiaohu in the bottom lane. Drops the equalizer. It ain't gonna matter. Flashing the auto attacks. Weibo is just better.
That's the Xiaohu that did so much work for them in the regular season. All right, Weibo really came to play now. TheShy pushing on top turret, Light pushing on mid turret, NRG trying to fight back!
They want to try to find something here, but again, it's just Crisp and Weiwei knowing their limits and backing off once NRG try to make a move.
And this is what we were saying, the second Weibo get control, it is so hard to play into this composition. They control space so well, they deny you access so well, and now you've got Xiaohu with 3 kills, you've got Light who's managed to pick up the gold that he needs off of the towers, and he's starting to take over. Weibo want to make this a 3-0.
6,000 gold at 17 minutes is the recipe to do just that. Weibo loving the state of the game. Third Drake of the game is live. It's a Hex Soul this time around, and Weibo's primed to put themselves in a spot for Soul Point.
Yeah, especially with 2 items now completed on towards Xiaohu. I mean, if there's one thing we learned from his Lucian, this man is pretty good at AD champions. We got to see it with his Tristana domestically in the LPL, 72% win rate on that pick. And now, with this Jayce full firing, they're just getting prio mid. They're going to start to lean in towards this bot side. And NRG, they need to try and find Weibo while they're split, but they're not really in a position to even go for it because Palafox, he's trying to catch the wave mid.
FBI and the rest of NRG trying to take control over this bot side river and set up for the Drake.
Gone.
Xiaohu's already on a rampage. Palafox is gone. The Twisted Advance is out. Equalizer over the top, but Dhokla's going to be the target here. And Xiaohu finally shut down. FBI taking the credit on that one, but he's traded back over to Dhokla, who dies to Light. Meanwhile, IgNar makes an escape to the Hex Gates, and now Weiwei and the rest of Weibo have control over this Drake. They have control over the river. They have a 4v3 on the Rift. Contractz, you don't want to go in there, buddy. It's no way out. Soul Point over to Weibo.
Huge stuff for Weibo. So much control in the game now, and with all these sieging options available to them, it's only 18.5 minutes into the game. They can continue to control the Rift, wait patiently for the Baron to come up.
And they still have that Rift Herald. They can still go for more here as well as they start to siege up. But you see here, Weibo push out mid. Xiaohu goes into the darkness. And Palafox is gone immediately. And NRG, they don't really fall as quickly, but they still end up falling off the back of this. It's a good ult from Dhokla to set up for the kill on towards Xiaohu, but they just don't have enough in the tank, especially as TheShy is chasing down members.
Yeah, and Xiaohu has been so good in the LPL and so good at MSI, winning 3 times. It's just been Worlds, the tournament, that has been kind of elusive for him. So maybe this is the time.
I mean, the Emperor of Spring has always been the moniker, and unfortunately for him, he's never been able to shift that over towards Worlds. And now Dhokla may need to shift out of here.
I feel like every single time the camera pans to an isolated member of NRG, it's a Twisted Advance coming from the trees. They're alive, and they're after NRG. Weiwei 2-1-3 here on the Maokai, having another good showing.
And the amount of vision they have on this top side, there goes the Rift Herald. They know that NRG are not in a position to chase for this, so that's going to be the first tier 2 cracked open here for the Weibo side.
All right, Xiaohu going to finish up this turret with that Rift Herald as they teleport on it, actually. NRG are making a strike at a possible comeback. Can they get him? Contractz ult!
Palafox goes in. Xiaohu's a big target if they can take him down. He wants to disengage,
They got him.
but the damage on the Soul Unbound is enough to secure the kill. Now what about the counter punch? NRG trying to escape. Weiwei and TheShy still going forward. TheShy has the Hull Breaker. Very, very powerful if he's isolated. Remember, gives him a ton of extra resistances. Has teammates nearby him right now. And even though it's Weibo who lost a man, they're still feeling fine about the state of things.
They're just going to back away, make sure that they're not going to lose anything else off the back of that. NRG not really in a position to do particularly much here because you'll be able to come back into the Rift in a couple of moments. You've got the TP available for Xiaohu as well. TheShy still playing with his food here a little bit, and I don't know if NRG are going to bite back.
They're going to watch TheShy just sort of walk back and forth. That's about all they can do. It's real dangerous to go near these guys. We talked about the strength of the composition, having Maokai saplings, Heimdinger turrets, Caitlyn traps, all being able to control this zone. And now with TheShy having a hull breaker, it just means the more that you mess around trying to break through this defense, break through this zone control, the more Weibo is going to get somewhere else on the map.
It also means that if you're up against Dhokla as TheShy, he's not going to do anything to your minions. The extra magic resist that gives to a cannon minion is absurd for a Rumble to try and deal with. So it sets up beautifully for Weibo to have that 4-man threat and then the sideline pressure. The sideline pressure, though, might come back to bite TheShy.
All right, NRG sending 3 men after him. Make it 4 as the TP's coming in. TheShy trying to fight these guys, just jumps back over the head. Styling on him for now, but can he continue getting away? Twisted advance over the top, true shot barrage to get it done. TheShy falls first. Equalizer now falling as Contractz drops. Xiaohu's got the damage, and Palafox has to retreat. Weiwei leading the charge yet again with a twisted advance as Dhokla barely stays alive. Weiwei having a flash out, double kill back over to Xiaohu. Palafox goes in, gets one back of his own. Light still trying to get another kill. There's so many low health bars on NRG. Weibo come out on top. It's a 2-for-2 trade, but the health bars favor Weibo.
NRG still trying to fight their way back into this game. They make another pick on the sideline. They get TheShy, they get his flash. Weibo, though, they walk away again, and they still have so much of an advantage with all of these pushing lanes.
Palafox is trying his damnedest in these fights. He's been trying to set up a course, not only just in this game, but all series long. Does end up going ways off on that engage, but then the follow-up here to get the pick onto TheShy sets that up. And then even as the fight starts to continue, it's a bit unfortunate. Xiaohu gets the Dusk Blade as he's going across the Rumble ult, so doesn't get all that damage. And then here again, Palafox gets access to the solo bound. He jumps in once more, trying to make sure that he can find those last little ticks of damage to take down Weiwei in the backline and try and make these fights even. But back to live, we're at the Dragon Pit.
We're at the Dragon Pit, and it's soul point on a Hex Soul for Weibo. They are up 7,000 gold, and they are demanding a fight in open ground from NRG as an accelerated shock blast takes a third of FBI's health. NRG have to find a miracle here, and they aren't going to get it like that. A flash out from Chris gets rid of the ulti from the Yone. Palafox down to half HP. Total control here for Weibo. TheShy is transformed. He jumps over the wall, finds the hit on the Q, but it's only under Contractz who can't be slowed. Still low HP for NRG. Weibo still total control, zoning them back away in the top lane. TheShy back into IgNar form, throws out the boomerang, not going to connect on the first toss, still chasing. Accelerated shock blast, not finding the target there. NRG are forced all the way back into the top gate of their base, and Weibo begin hiking back to the Dragon Pit.
Yep, Dragon Soul is up and ready to be taken. They started out here. Hex gates. We've got FBI coming from the base. There's a Hex gate here. They're going to go for it.
This is it.
Caitlyn traps.
NRG trying to approach on this, but Weibo, they know it's so huge if they get it. The engage is immediately going to find Chris, but now NRG's got to be careful. The dragon's been claimed. The soul belongs to Weibo. The game belongs to Weibo. Everything's about to go to Weibo. Xiaohu's in a killing spree. 2 are already dead on NRG's side. Palafox is going to join them, and Weibo are merciless.
The first year that all 4 seeds of the LPL get to a quarterfinals, and Weibo wants to show that they belong in a semi-finals as well. They find the fight, and they immediately turn towards Baron.
Baron will be taken as we go into the replay. NRG know there is now or nothing. They go for it. They try and get the steal. The Ezreal ultimate over it, but Weibo get the dragon, even though NRG make the pick onto Chris. And then it's all members forward. They charge them down, Shy right into the back line.
And you can see the chain lightning bouncing around even in this fight because they claimed the soul as the team fight broke out. Weibo then grabbing everything, the Baron right after. They've got that for the next 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Honestly, I don't even know if the game's going to last that long.
And that's what I was going to say. The chain of events we're going to see now happening is going to be so difficult for NRG to deal with. Right, you start to push in here as Light, as Xiaohu start to siege onto the mid lane turret. That's already crumbling. A stiff breeze is going to take that down for Weibo. You then start to look at the bot side. TheShy already setting up his business in this bot line. He wants to make sure that he can get that income for himself. And even might look for Palafox here as he's forced to run away. As long as you've got this Baron buff, you are delighted as Weibo.
Light just using that ace in the hole to chip away at the health of FBI, who does not have a lot of sustain. Palafox going over the wall, doesn't find anything with the ulti except a dab. Now they got the Maokai. TheShy's ready for the follow-up. He locks down 2. IgNar's dead. Dhokla's dead. There's no chance left for NRG as FBI is sniped from downtown. A double kill. Back for Xiaohu. He's ready to silence the doubters, to quiet the haters. Weibo is going to go through those Nexus turrets like butter. Hope is a dangerous thing, and Weibo will crush the hopes of North America, crush the Nexus turrets, and crush this quarterfinal. They earn their place in the semifinals.
The LPL showing up here against the LCS. It looked close in game number 1, but it was quickly squashed by Weibo as they continue to ramp up over the course of Worlds.
Strong answers from Weibo here with a 3-0 victory. And they will be our first team in the semifinals. Congratulations. Take a bow.
Gen.G or BLG are going to be their opponents waiting for them. And that is going to be another step that they are going to have to try and muster up the strength for if they hope to make it the whole way.
Heads held high for the members of NRG, though. The entire region proud of this team. They have forced so many people into a paradigm shift to really question the assumptions that they had about North American players with their strong performances here, even in the face of so much doubt.
But still, today it was not enough to take down the LPL's 4th seed, the team that you said it earlier, guys. This was put together as a super team. They were supposed to slay everybody. It didn't play out the way a lot of people expected, but they're here at Worlds now. And although the road has been rocky, they absolutely crushed their opponents here today. And I think they're heating up as they're going forward.
And I think it's a lot of question marks that were around Weibo and even their opportunity to get to the World Championship. But now that they're here, we're starting to see where that comfort lies and what made them so strong domestically. AD champions in the mid lane for Xiaohu where he's able to get it. Having Weiwei where he's able to play around that bottom side. And TheShy, I mean, this guy has been fantastic. Picking up things like the Aatrox, being able to slam down that herd onto his opposition and making sure Weibo have that opportunity to continue forward.
TheShy is running the show in the side lane. Weiwei constantly doing what he wanted to do in the jungle. Taking over from level 1 in game number 2, constantly going back to that bottom lane, always finding these ultis and these angles here on the Maokai in game number 3. And in bottom lane, there still hasn't really been an answer for these ranged supports from Crisp. Yes, Heimdinger's not really an enchanter, but he's not a tank either. They're playing this ranged type of style masterfully, and the way that they controlled the zones and controlled the areas that they wanted to fight around in game number 3 was a thing to behold.
And it really allows Light to shine here. He's playing on the edge, squeezing out every last bit of DPS. Very, very big stuff from Weibo. Excited to see what they can do in semis.
A convincing 3-0 victory for Weibo. And to wrap it all up, let's toss things over to the World's cooldown.
Smoke, the doubters, the whole pack. That's what we were memeing about before we got into this tournament. And it was all because Weibo had a lot of doubts around them the whole time. Did this super team work? Was it ever going to come together at all? Well, they're top 4 at Worlds. So regardless of the path they've taken here, they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, I cannot stress enough how cool it is to see that it's coming from this bot lane, right? Because obviously Xiaohu did have a much stronger performance. He hasn't been back to World Semis since 2017. However, like, the big story for me in this, as we see Xiaohu did outdamage everyone in this game, has been this bot lane, though, and what they decided to run with it, how they did rely on Crisp for that R5 support coming in, and how good him and Light looked in this series.
And that's back-to-back series now, where I think it has been heavily about bot lane, heavily about these enchanter prio. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this actually shapes the meta for Worlds as a whole, because I think they're showing us very clearly that this stuff does work. And I think that enchanters have been largely overlooked for the last quite a while. But as long as you're drafting Engage in the jungle, as long as you're drafting Engage from top lane, you can play enchanters and you can play this lane dominant style. You can stack these goldies, create advantages, and the player of the series rightfully going to Light. He crushed it. Player of the series presented by Oppo was incredible throughout multiple games here for the team.
Yeah, Crisp and Light. I think even, as you mentioned, the Fnatic series pivoted around bot lane. I think the G2 and NRG series also pivoted around bot lane. And even the first game in Swiss that NRG played against Weibo pivoted around the bot lane. So for all the star power that exists with TheShy and Xiaohu on this team, it was Light and Crisp and Weiwei that 3-manned the bot lane time and time again for the 3-0.
Yeah, and I mean, I also want to give Weiwei a little bit of credit here. I know there were kind of some rumors coming out as to whether he would be actually substituted out for Karsa. And again, he was such an instrumental part and kind of his pathing around bot lane, his attention to the bot side. Obviously, when we give it to an AD carry, Light, we're talking so little about Light comparatively. Light performed really, really well, but the team also played super well around him to allow him to put out these massive amounts of damage in these fights.
And it's so odd because I want to give all the credit to them for making it to the semifinals, of course, but there's still that same doubt that I had coming in. Like, what is their ceiling? What is their ceiling? This was a 3-0 performance, very convincing, but I still don't really know going into a Gen G or a BLG.
I have no idea. Like, I would still say that I would still like hesitate to pick them, right? Because I actually think their ceiling is massive. Like, the ability of this team and what they are capable of is huge. We have not seen it.
Well, and I think we're going to find that out in the semifinals, right? Because the reality is, people will still have questions. They haven't beat an Eastern team at Worlds yet. It was all Western teams all the way to the semifinals for Weibo. So people are going to have those questions, I think, until they take down a big team, right? And Gen G is on their side of the bracket. That's the expected semifinalist that they would be going up against, barring any sort of an upset. If you're able to take them down, well, then you've really silenced everybody.
I mean, for what it's worth, they have beaten Eastern teams. They are from the LPL.
Yeah,
they were top 4
but
teams.
not at Worlds.
I agree, not at Worlds, but they've definitely been able to do it in the past. They will be the underdog in every future matchup all the way to the World Championship.
Yes.
If that is where they end, I think that's clear. I think they were favorites today, and they played some of the best league we've seen them play all year.
Yeah. Definitely so. And with that, they find themselves in the semifinal. Let's send it over to Lore, who's standing by with the victorious Crisp in the Verizon post-game interview. Oops, I got baited. It's not ready yet. It's far away. That's good. We're talking to the support. That's good because I think even though you say maybe we haven't mentioned Light that much, but you brought up his story before as well in terms of kind of the World Championship and then this year not really being his best year. It's a good time to peak.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing with Crisp is the fact that, again, they've been focusing on putting enchanters in the bot lane, and he's looked really, really strong. And then he's just been playing better. Like, he looks like he has much better coordination with the team. When we saw him making mistakes, it would be either just mechanical misplays in the 2v2, or he just would not be syncing up in 5v5 fights, especially on engagers. So to see him come out and have this strong of a performance, I think is really important for Weibo going forward.
And I think just getting the stage experience here, the more games they're playing at Worlds, they seem to be getting more and more comfortable. I think throughout this series, you could see that they were building into it. Game 1 was obviously very back and forth, very competitive. Game 2, they had a really good start, were able to hold on to that, put Light in a position to dominate. And Game 3 was straight up just a blowout, right? So it got more and more one-sided throughout. Weibo looked great.
Yes, and now we are ready, I believe. Let's send it over to Lore and Crisp for the Verizon post-game interview.
And thank you so much, Shox. We're back here in the interview area with Crisp, winner going to the semi-final, Ni hao. And thank you so much for joining me today. Congrats on taking down the last LCS team we had. You played them before, though, but it was in best of 1. How did you think this one would go as it was best of 5?
首先，恭喜你们击败 NRG 进入到了4强，也感谢您接受我们的采访。首先问一下，在今天的比赛之前，其实你们也已经跟他们交过手了嘛？以前是 BO1， 那这次是 BO5， 所以你自己的一个对于这场比赛的一个看法，包括说在开赛之前，你的一个期待又是怎样的呢？
就是碰上 NRG 的话，我一直觉得就是我们获胜的概率是要比较大一点的，然后所以其实对上 NRG 就是没有什么很大的一些心理上的压力，就觉得我们发挥出自己的实力，我们是能赢他们的。
Yeah, facing off against NRG, I think we definitely stand a bigger chance to take them down than they are. So as long as we can play on our game and also keep a very calm mindset, then we can definitely pick up the win.
And maybe you got this calmer mindset throughout the series, as the first game was way closer than the rest of the series was. How do you rate Weibo's evolution throughout the series and the fact that you accelerated the pace of the game?
因为其实能够看出来，这场 BO5 当中，可能除了第一局之外，稍微有一点是比较接近的嘛。那可能第2、第3局来讲，都是非常的一边倒的。那你是怎么看待在这场 BO5 当中，可能尤其是在游戏节奏上，你们的一个进行游戏的速度来说，明显第2、第3局都比第1局快呢？
因为可能第一把的话，就是对于两边的话，都可能是对自己的阵容比较有自信的那种情况下，然后在 做了很多的一个准备，然后如果第一把输掉的话，可能第2把会有一些心情上跟 BP 上的会有一些起伏，因为输了的人他会去对自己的阵容可能产生质疑，然后他们会重新去思考到底要怎么去应对。
So in the first game, I think that's the status where both teams were confident about their preparation and their pick and ban phase because it's the very beginning of the game. So whoever lost the first game, then probably in mindset or in their form, they probably had some ups and downs and probably a questioning things going through the series. So it's really important to take the first win in game one, and that's the reason I think is very important for us to pick up the first win. Yeah.
Confidence win to activate you throughout the series. I want to talk about a specific pick rather, Milio. You're the only player in the competition who can master this champion fully. Tell me about the priority that Milio took during the World Championship, and do you think this champion is going to keep on working against stronger teams?
那因为目前来讲，好像米利欧的一个优先级，好像因为你的使用有稍微被提上来一点点嘛。你是怎么样看待这个英雄的优先级的？尤其是当面对后面的比赛当中可能会遇到更强的一些队伍的时候。
我觉得就这个版本的下路整体的节奏都比较偏向于发育的那种，就是在两边都是发育的情况下，如果有米流这样的英雄的加持的话，打到后面是会很厉害的。
So in this current meta, I think the bot duo tend to go with some more scaling champions. So if we really go to late game, go to scaling, go to team fights, I think if you're playing Milio really well, then you could give a really good enchantment into your team.
Yeah, the champion has a great kit for this, but last champion, about Weibo itself, it feels like people keep on underestimating you. Chris, is there anything you would like to say to the fans, to everyone watching, about why Weibo should be feared and why they've been underestimating you guys?
因为感觉好像一路以来，在本次的全球总决赛上，微博好像一直没有被那么高的所去评价到，可能很多人有在低估你们。那对于所有的粉丝也好，对于那些可能一直在质疑你们、觉得你们不够强的人来说，有没有什么话想送给他们的呢？
我觉得就是我们输给 G2 的情况下，也是我们是优势被翻盘，然后输给 KT 的话，其实我们也一度有机会获得胜利，然后也有其他队伍输给 KT， 就是可能大家就认为我们碰到这种对手没有赢的话，但我觉得他们其实也没有赢，所以我们其实都差不多，而且我们现在4强了，比他们走得更远。
Well, when we lost to G2, we got reverse sweep in that game, and we were facing off against KT. We could have pick up the win, but we didn't manage to close it out. So, well, I mean, they didn't win. Well, we actually coming to this point, we are going further than they did. So I think we are the winner in this situation.
Looking really strong, heading to semi-finals. Rajat, Chris, thank you so much. Sheshe for the interview. Iris, thank you so much for the help, as always. And Sharks, back to you.
Thank you so much, Chris. Cool, calm, and collected. He can be, of course, after that performance. But I do want to take some time to talk about NRG and the run they had if we look at the whole World Championship. And it's always so difficult when, we talked about it even, right? Because if you do a historical thing, but then the series right after is a little sour, then it kind of makes it hard to look at the rest, but I think that's unfair specifically for how low the expectations were and how much NRG did with it this year.
I mean, this team has just improved by leaps and bounds. Like, I know I've said it jokingly before, but I truly cannot believe the same team that lost 0-2 to Immortals was able to 2-0 G2, right?
Crazy.
Like, this team improved so much from the regular season to playoffs, and I think they showed us that commitment to a stable roster and coaching staff that they've now had together for quite some time really can pay dividends. And also that NA talent and teams built around NA talent can succeed at the international level. Did the tournament end how they wanted to? No, of course not. But I still think there's a massive ceiling for this team and they can continue to grow, continue to improve. And I, for one, really loved watching them throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, I know Jat joked about like, oh, NRG win regardless of what happens in this game, but I do think there's so many lessons to be taken from this NRG team. The fact that they did actually believe specifically in this top side to allow them to develop, to allow them to grow. I think in North America, we have such a massive problem with the way that teams look at talent and how they value names and how they refuse to scout certain players or have preconceived notions from North American solo queue or from Academy about certain players. And I really, really, really hope that NRG's performance here, despite the fact that they did get swept by Weibo today, is a harbinger of teams actually bothering to A, stick with players when they make mistakes, because players will make mistakes, and then also actually scout your talent and look at how you can develop it yourself on your roster.
Nah, man.
And that was part of the conversation I had with DeMonte on the train over here, because the narrative does matter.
Yeah.
And I think the narrative over the last 2 years in North America of JoJo and Danny winning in spring of 2022, combined with this NRG team not only winning the split against a bunch of import-filled rosters, but then also beating the #1 seed from Europe, contributed to eliminating them from the tournament and make it to the quarterfinals. If you just cherry pick the 0-3 here, you're doing a huge disservice and you're not doing your job properly. So I think the narrative actually has changed, will change, and I think we're going to see a lot more NA talent getting a chance next year in the LCS.
I really hope so. That should be what is taken away by this, and we've said this kind of the whole tournament ever since they got that upset win versus G2. And I think a lot of people will go, well, yeah, well, you didn't beat an LCK team or LPL team, but you did enough to make it to a historical run where nobody thought you would be in that position in the first place. And that, I think, demands respect. It does mean, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to the final Western team here at Worlds 2023, and Contractz is standing by with Lore in the Verizon post-game interview.
And we're back on this side of the studio with Contractz junglers, NRG junglers, sorry, rather. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry didn't things work out the way you wanted to today, but what are your first takeaways when it comes to this series and the expectations you had coming in today?
I think in terms of drafts, we were a little bit unprepared about the rel jungle, and combined with like the range support on bot lane. I felt like we didn't know exactly how to play around it too well or strategize against it. And I think just as a team, we were kind of indecisive and pretty hesitant on a lot of our plays in game just because it wasn't very clear to us at times. But definitely have a lot of regrets. I think I could have played a lot better, but still fun.
I think that it doesn't take anything from the year you had, the performance you had at Worlds especially, and what you managed to prove here, whether it's in the LCS or here at Worlds Contractz. And I hope that you're going to manage to see this in the long run, being praised by Canyon, winning the title in the LCS, making it that far, being the best Western teams we had at Worlds. What is this year going to be about for you when you think about it?
It's just kind of a manifestation of all the hard work that I put in throughout the years. A lot of adversity and hardship that's been thrown at me, but you know, I prevailed. I worked through it, and you know, this year shows how much work that I put in. And it's not enough, though. I'm still not satisfied. I felt like we could have did a lot better today, and I'll definitely do a lot better next time.
It's not enough, but maybe it's also about what you're going to take from this experience that's going to help you in the future, next year, at Worlds, for sure.
100%.
What are going to be the learnings from this?
Just go in with confidence and don't play scared. The same thing that I did every single game this year. Just take in all the small things that you learn from a lot of the Eastern junglers, like base timings and where to pressure and how to play the map. I think I learned a lot in the past month. I'm definitely 10 times the player that I was when I first came to Korea, so I'm going to take that all back.
NRG has been an amazing story, an amazing journey for you guys, and you've been stellar to watch, honestly. You met a lot of people hope and dream throughout your run, and I think it's really inspirational to see how far you guys have come. Is there anything you want to say and tell to the fans today who've been cheering for you today and supporting you throughout this run, Contractz?
Yeah, the amount of kind messages and support that I've gotten the past, you know, our Worlds run has been amazing. It really does put a smile on my face, and you know, I appreciate all of it, and I hope you guys watch LCS next year.
They have to,
yeah,
and they will, of
so.
course. Contractz, thank you so much for the interview,
Thank you.
and thank you for an amazing run with NRG.
Thank you.
And Chucks, back to you.
Thank you so much, Solemn, of course, out of Contractz, but immediately saying, I've learned so much, I'm going to build on this. And I think that's what we were talking about before as well, right? You kind of have been together with that top side of your team for so long, and hard work pays off, and it's going to continue to do so.
And he knows more than anyone that your most recent performance isn't a reflection of how good you're going to be.
Yes.
Because he's had so many downs throughout his career. He had a damn high this year. Those 2 Jarvan games he had in the G2 series, 2 of the best Jarvan games I have ever seen from any player. So I really want to see him back next year, and I agree with him. Watch the LCS.
And I just love, seeing how much he has matured, both as a player and a person. He talked a lot about the mistakes that he made in the past. When he got to this point in Cloud9 in 2017, he said he felt like he was kind of, invincible. He was in this spot where he took for granted the position he was in, and he said, you know what, who cares? I can leave Cloud9. I can do just as well with anyone. I can do something else. And he's realized through this process and through the struggle and grind that it took him to get back here, how much work does go into that and how privileged of a position he is in to even be here. And I think you really can see that maturation. So I'm excited to see what he can do next year.
Oh, definitely so. Gone from Worlds, but definitely not forgotten for NRG. But it is Weibo that moves on to the semifinal. We're going to take a look at the bracket. Also want to remind you that you can still lock in your pick'ems for Gen G versus BLG tomorrow. So
high value if you do this one. Let me tell you, the BLG one, I think I saw about 90% of people are picking Gen G. I think it's good value. I think you play that 10 times.
Yes, let's
and
go.
BLG's going to win more than one.
It's true. They did it MSI.
You don't get a bigger payout with this bet.
Yeah, this isn't money.
Well, you do because the other people don't get the points and you do.
But
so
never mind.
What? What were you going to say?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah. You
I
get
would do it.
50
You're great,
points
Jet.
for getting it right.
You're great.
And if the other 90% get
Sure,
it wrong,
Jet.
it's like you got more.
Sure. Okay. We'll go with that.
I like it. It's solid advice. All right, we're gonna tune off for today. Let us put it that way. I think I'm a bit shook and I'm a bit sad for NRG. Definitely.
too.
So
Well, hey,
we gotta channel. the
There's
happiness.
room to follow KT Rolster.
Actually,
Are you sure?
Isn't
that the opposite of what you want? I feel like the bandwagon got too heavy for NRG. It's all Shox' fault,
Yeah,
actually.
it's
That's
true.
what
I
we've
filled
learned.
this in,
Yeah,
but I'm just gonna.
with KT,
yeah,
it's not about having more fans. It's about not believing in the team ever.
Okay. Anyways, if you missed anything today, you can also check out
like
the
their game tree
rebroadcast
draft.
as
Just
well. And the next quarterfinal will be tomorrow between LCK's Gen G and LPL's Bilibili Gaming BLG. See you then. Bye. Bye.
Flash, stun, follow-up coming in from Contractz. TheShy trying to get back. He goes unstoppable. They wanted to save a little bit of extra damage. They don't quite have it.
Fight with Renekton.
Yeah, I'm coming, guys. I'm coming.
I'm on his hunter after.
No, landing with. You
Nice.
see them, guys. Okay, you see them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dhokla over the wall. TheShy in the ground. NRG get two. NRG will fall, and Weibo are the ones to knock them down. All five still alive. The LPL takes game one. Across the rift right now, they've got a 600 gold lead with no kills. Now IgNar is going to get rooted up by the Gravitum. Crash down from Weiwei. First blood, and it goes over to Chris. But now they're trapped between a rock and a hard place. FBI falls. There's nothing left. NRG are crushed. It's 5 kills over to Weibo.
Yeah, hit front. Rel's getting really chunked, guys. Rel first.
We can even take her out. Yeah, nice. Rel
Nice.
dead.
Dhokla can't do it. He goes all out, but he's only going to buy a moment. Light is legendary, and Weiwei leads the charge. But the Aphelios will take Nexus number 2, and Weibo hits match point. Speaking of Weiwei, he's once again going after his favorite thing. Contractz is chicken camp. Jumping in now with a twisted advance. Xiaohu coming around to help him. Contractz! What was that?
For them to start to move over towards the bottom side.
Oh, IgNar, blink and you'll miss it.
Oh, so strong, man.
They know it's so huge if they get it. The engage is immediately going to find Chris, but now NRG's got to be careful. The dragon's been claimed. The soul belongs to Weibo. The game belongs to Weibo.
The first year that all 4 seeds of the LPL get to a quarterfinals, and Weibo wants to show that they belong in a semifinals as well.
What's your play, God? What's your play, God?